All right. Jacksonville Jaguars are next up. They made the power move from number 5 to number 2 overall to get Travis Hunter, gave up a future 1. Once again, in the draft grades, I have no idea if anyone's going to assess that, the fact that they gave up a future 1 for this pick. So they go Travis Hunter in the first at pick number 2. They double up at corner, or did they? With Caleb Ransaw, cornerback / safety from Tulane with their second pick, which is in round 3. Their third round pick was Wyatt Milam, the guard / tackle out of West Virginia. 2 fourth rounders, Bashal Tutin, the running back out of Virginia Tech, and Jack Kaiser, linebacker out of Notre Dame. And of the day 3 picks, to me most interesting, Jalen McLeod, edge / linebacker coming out of Auburn, kind of an undersized edge in college who's got a little juice. And then Jonah Monheim, the center out of USC, and LaQuint Allen, the running back out of Syracuse, a couple 7th rounders there. So, look, big move at the top. First move James Gladstone really makes in the draft is to trade up for Travis Hunter. What were your thoughts on the Jags draft and in this initial move here by James Gladstone?
Yeah, I mean, a hell of a statement signature move for your kind of first order of business as the new GM. And he had said something like, I've been talking a lot since getting here because obviously there's nothing to do sort of actual move wise up until the draft. So he'd been doing interviews. He'd been, talking to people, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, it felt good to actually do something. And he sort of said, look, it's an entertainment business. And that is part of this. Like, it does feel like part of this calculus, part of this evaluation for Jacksonville is, how exciting a player is Travis Hunter. What can he bring, not just on the field, but off the field? Kind of the way, forget who it was, but somebody in the Hard Knocks in the Giants debate of whether they keep Saquon Barkley or not was this guy was the face of the team. Like, what do we do when the face of the team leaves? How do we replace that? I feel like this is part of the Jacksonville thought process is Travis Hunter can be even more than Trevor Lawrence, like the face of this franchise, this unique two-way player, this sort of social media superstar, this guy who plays both sides of the ball, who's just a fun personality. I think that was part of the evaluation. But as you said, they gave up a future first to make this happen, which is kind of interesting as well, because so much of the potential value in Travis Hunter is this idea that he can be 2 players in one or 1.5 players in one. If you give up a future first to make it happen, you kind of offset a lot of that potential value. Like, you've paid 2 players in terms of picks to make this happen.
Yeah, I mean, it was really 3 pretty high level picks. The reason why I love this move for the Browns is because they still got Mason. They got Mason Graham, the high 2nd round pick, which turned into Quinshon Judkins, and a 1st round pick. So I loved it from the Browns perspective. Of course, there were some later picks exchanged in there as well. But it was one of those at the time I said, it still feels like a win-win for me. I mean, look, would I have done that? If I had gotten the Jags job, would I have made this move? I don't think so. I would have been aggressive the other way. I would have been aggressive with more picks. I think both ways are aggressive, right? I mean, the Browns trading down, that's a bold move. Like, giving up Travis Hunter is bold, and going up to get him is bold. And so Mike Renner was on the show Saturday morning, just kind of recapping day 1 or 2. And something I hadn't thought of just yet was not just that the Rams had given up 1st round picks for 7 straight years while James Gladstone was there, but that they did go full stars and scrubs method, as we used to always term it, right? They were star heavy on that team. And is that what we're going to see here in Jacksonville going forward? Are we going to see some maneuvering to give up high picks to get, say, 5 stars? And if they are going to go that way, we could argue Trevor Lawrence, Brian Thomas Jr., and Travis Hunter. I would say maybe throw Josh Hines-Allen in the mix there. Maybe not superstar, but he's a star. They've got 4 players. They have a foundation here that if they want to add 3 or 4 more over the next couple of years, it might be the way that he wants to go. And remember, you complement that with, 10 day 3 picks or whatever the Rams have done historically. You kind of trust your day 3 drafting. That's how you fill out the roster. I do wonder if that's the way to go. And this was the first step in that direction to go get Travis Hunter.
Yeah, I mean, I have some sympathy with the idea that, he's special, right? You go and chase the blue chip players. There weren't many blue chip players in this draft. You can definitely make the argument that the blue chip players ran out after Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter. I think some teams would have drawn the line there. I think some teams might have put Mason Graham in that blue chip category as well. Obviously, Genty and different positions that are lower down that might not sort of categorize themselves as blue chip. But overall, I think you can definitely make the argument that the Jags might have seen a line drawn between Travis Hunter and what would have been available at 5 that makes it worth trying to achieve that. To me, it's too much of an overpay, though. Like, I love Travis Hunter, but you're just giving up so much to go and get him. I don't think it's worth doing. But even he now, I think, needs to be something of a two-way player to even come close to justifying this. Like, what was interesting about Hunter to me the most is if you just categorized him as a wide receiver, I think he's worth a top 5 draft pick. If you just categorize him as a cornerback, I think he's worth a top 5 draft pick. And then obviously there's the potential of, can you turn him into 1.5 players? And suddenly that's almost an unprecedented level of value in today's NFL. And I'd be cool with that if I already had that draft pick, but I'm not to the point where I'm going to go chasing it because there's so much unknown in terms of what you're going to get out of him as a two-way player. I don't know if he can play full-time wide receiver and then, 5 snaps a game, or if he can play 20 snaps a game, or if he can play full-time both ways. And by the way, neither does anybody else in the NFL. This is going to be breaking new ground. Like, we're going to be learning this together, what he can achieve based off, some knowledge of what he did in college, et cetera. But the NFL game is different. So there's so much unknown and therefore so much risk attached to all of the two-way stuff that I'm not giving up multiple picks to go and jump a couple of spaces up. If I already had that pick, absolutely take him, and the upside is huge. But I do feel like this was overly risky versus just stay where you are, take Mason Graham, who's close to being a blue chip player anyway, and don't overthink it.
Hey guys, just taking a quick break to tell you, hey, just over 50% of you are still unsubscribed to Check the Mic. It helps the channel. It helps to make sure that you don't miss any of our shows. So if you have a chance, hit the subscribe button right now. I think they're definitely going to lean into the two-way thing, but he'll be a wide receiver.
Like I said.
Yeah, and they'll be a wide receiver first, as many teams, assumed or at least indicated. The other part too, James Gladstone's very first press conference, he was making statements like, we're going to get the right people in the building, the people that are going to elevate everybody around them. I told you on the live broadcast, I talked to a team who was picking in the teens, and they were like, man, Travis Hunter is awesome. Like, he is the best dude. Everybody's talking about him just as a guy. Forget the two-way player thing. Forget the talent. Like, you just want that guy on the team. That went into this thing too. James Gladstone talking about, we're going to get people in the building that are just going to elevate the atmosphere around us. It sounds touchy-feely, but that was a huge part of this to get. I love looking at a GM's first move, right? It was Dan Campbell getting Penei Sewell. This is James Gladstone getting Travis Hunter, and that's what he's tied to forever. And on the field, I want to talk about that in a second here, but I also think off the field, they're just like, get this guy in the building. We're all going to be better for it. That's part of the reasoning here, right or wrong. But the 1-2 punch of Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter at receiver with Liam Cohen calling plays, I think we're starting to get to a spot where maybe I still think Trevor Lawrence is a really good quarterback. I think after the first year and a half of his career, he's become a good quarterback. Good. Not great, good. Top 10 to 12-ish. He's in that range. Had moments. He had stretches where he was pushing the top 5. This is probably the closest opportunity he has now with an offensive line tied up for the next couple of years. I think they're okay. They're not great. But most importantly, 2 dynamic playmakers in Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr. I think they're moving in the right direction to get the most out of Trevor Lawrence now.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think the trade was an overpay. I wouldn't have made that move. I think it's too risky. That being said, I absolutely love putting Travis Hunter in this offense alongside Brian Thomas Jr., who I genuinely think has like number 1 superstar potential. I mean, we already saw flashes of that as a rookie. As long as they see him the same and they like completely open up the entire playbook and say everything is on the table for this guy, he can be, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. He can be the elite number 1 top 5 receiver in the NFL. I think he's got that kind of upside. And this is coming from someone that didn't think he had any of that really as a draft prospect. I was much lower on him than everybody else, but was so impressed by him as a rookie. Now you add in Travis Hunter, who brings elite quickness, elite ball skills, elite understanding of defenses. And if he had a question at wide receiver, it's can he be that true number one, full-time outside threat, the guy that can take any kind of coverage away with the full sort of deep speed. He doesn't need to anymore. Now Brian Thomas Jr. is already that guy, so he can be the complementary piece. He can be the number two, and he can, I think, immediately step in and be a really high-level version of that. So now you've got Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter, De'Ami Brown was signed, Gabe Davis is already there. You've got some weapons there. Like, this is a really fun-looking offense immediately with that combination.
Let's go to the rest of the draft here, though. Brian Dormady says Travis Hunter's YouTube channel, the super chat in here. Travis Hunter's YouTube channel has about 2 million views for his Jags video. So he's elevating the Jags here. The official Jaguars channel has about 100,000. That's what he brings with him. I mean, there's
that's
a business
what I set up front,
element here.
Right?
Yeah.
That's part of this. That's exactly what we set up top. This is not just, I think, a purely football decision. This is he can be the face of the franchise in a way. I mean, really, when was the last time Jacksonville had a guy like that who was legitimately like a league level face superstar? Right.
Mark Brunell.
I mean, you're going back to that kind of era, right? Where the Jags legitimately had a sort of league level face of the league superstar. Travis Hunter definitely does bring that to the table. I really do think that was part of this whole equation. Not only can we go and get a guy who's unique, two-way player, potentially insanely valuable, but let's be honest, he does change the media level, the media sort of baseline of this franchise in a way that's good for everybody, that's good for business. So, yeah, I think that's a perfectly fair point.
To just touch on the rest of the draft, the second pick was Caleb Bransaw. He's kind of a cornerback safety hybrid, really athletic, okay production, pretty good tackler at Tulane. Wyatt Milam, the guard from West Virginia, played tackle at West Virginia, struggled a little bit at the Senior Bowl, moving around positions, but I do think he has starting guard potential. I think seventh rounder Jonah Monheim has a future center, maybe starting center potential too. You may have stolen a future starter there in the seventh, give him another year or two. Bashal Tutin adds another, he ran 4.3, low 4.3s. So you're talking about another dynamic threat here on this offense. If nothing else, I think they added not just Travis Hunter as a playmaker, not just Brian Thomas Jr. last year, but another playmaker in Tutin. He's got he's not as efficient down to down, but he's got big playability. Got to cut down on the fumbles just a little bit. And then I mentioned McLeod, the edge / linebacker from Auburn. I would just see if he could rush the passer off the edge. Might be a linebacker conversion, but had a really productive year last year at Auburn. So I didn't love the rest of the draft. Like, there's no player there where like, man, love it, love the fit, love the spot, but just trying to break down what they got here with the rest of the draft.
Yeah, Bashal Tutin is an interesting draft pick. He ended up being, I think, the seventh running back off the board. He went one pick ahead of Cam Scadaboo at the top of the fourth round. He's 5'9", 206, and he is this classic outside zone one-cut runner, like an old-school Shanahan system is what he's made for. He runs a 4.3 240, has 95th percentile jumps, like crazy athlete. And again, 5'9", 206, like low to the ground, pretty powerfully built. His two big seasons, like 50% of his yardage was breakaway yardage. Those big plays straight through, one cut, gone. He is very boomer bust as a ball carrier. And he had a fumbling issue in college as well. Had 9 over the last 2 years, but you do love his sort of big playability. So now you add him, like ETN and Bashal Tutin in the same offense, along with those big play threats on the outside. Like, this is an offense that's building like home run hitters across the board. They are not messing around. Everybody on this offense, they are trying to find a guy that can house the ball anytime they touch it. So that's kind of fascinating. And then there are another team, they double dipped at the position. They came back, I think, in the 7th round and got LaQuint Allen, the Syracuse running back. He was somebody a lot of people liked, sort of a third down type of back, like a former receiver, or at least a guy with receiving skills. And he could carve a role in this offense as well. So they added a couple of interesting players on day 3.
To go with Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby, and then adding 2 more running backs. kind of stocking up on running backs here in Jacksonville. The Renee Bugner's consensus has the Jags at number 10 overall. Not a whole lot of bad grades in there, ranging from A to C minus in the consensus GPA from Renee Bugner. Anything else on the Jags?
No, just it's going to be an interesting draft to watch pan out because of the Travis Hunter stuff.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.